What's going on, everybody? You see, it's a much quicker intro these days. Welcome to another edition of Giants Collective, powered by BetUS TV. As always, joined by Anthony, the entertainer, and of course, I am Baddog. You can check us out on wherever you get your podcasts, on Spotify, Apple Music, or Amazon. You can also check us out on Twitter. No, I'm sorry, not Twitter. On Instagram, easy for me to say. Instagram and TikTok, uploading videos there as well. If you want to become a member, just click that join button down there. You get custom emojis, monthly member messages, you name any outros, and access to members only live chats. A lot of stuff going on here at Giants Collective as we get through we're not even in the dog days of summer. I guess this is the dog days of spring when you talk about the Giants, and obviously not a lot of news on the home front in May. It's obviously kind of the dead time of the NFL. Draft is over. Training camp has not started yet. We won't get into that probably till, but when does training camp start? Ends of July, right? It's usually when they start. Yeah. Obviously, OTAs are next week. But before you get into the OTAs, I actually just read something, and I didn't even know that this was going to happen. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but the Giants are on Hard Knocks again. And this time it is an in-season edition of Hard Knocks, not the off-season edition. I guess they're going to be covering the NFC East. And, of course, we are part of the NFC East. Anthony, what are your feelings? You think this is a good thing or a bad thing? I know a lot of people kind of had mixed feelings about them being on Hard Knocks last year. So what's your feelings about this?
I'm excited for it. I really enjoyed the Giants being on Hard Knocks with the offseason edition. I thought it was a very informative show. I thought it was a very entertaining show. It was a real great way to kind of peel back the curtain and get a closer look at how NFL front offices operate. And I thought that was a really cool experience, not only, really just for fans. I thought that was a cool experience for the fans to see how the Giants were operating. Now, obviously, they didn't have a great offseason and things didn't go as we had hoped. And so that Hard Knocks series, became much more discussed during the regular season than we would have liked for it to be. But I think that this in-season one is a little bit different because with the off-season edition, we got to look at Joe Shane and his group. But this in-season one, we'll get a look at Brian Daboll and his group, and maybe we'll gain a greater appreciation if the Giants are winning games this year. We'll get a behind-the-scenes look at Jackson Dart and how he's developing and how he interacts with Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, and all these other guys. So I'm excited for it. I get why fans aren't excited for it because the last time the Giants became a meme, they got clipped and they got, embarrassed on the show. I mean, listen, you can get embarrassed at any point, but it's going to be an entertaining show. And I'm excited to see Brian Daboll work with Jackson Dart and get a behind the scenes look at that because I think it's very informative and it only is going to hopefully make me more excited for whenever the Jackson Dart era does officially kick off.
Chris, what are your feelings about them being on Hard Knocks for the second year in a row? It's funny because the Giants are never on this. Now they're on it 2 years in a row. Obviously, last year was the offseason. This year it will be in season.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's not exclusively the Giants, like you said. It's NFC East, so it probably won't be as strenuous or there won't be as much if it was just solely focused on the New York Giants. But there's still going to be cameras there every day. I'm assuming this is going to take place in season for the New York Giants because I think it's airing in December. As a fan, it's exciting. Like Anthony said, you get all the behind the scenes looks. You get and especially the one that they did was really unique because you got to see the inner workings of the general manager, something that we had never really seen on that show before. It was always like in season or preseason in training camp when you got to see the perspective from the players. That was obviously more so the perspective of the head coach and the general manager. So as a fan, I'm excited. I'm excited to see it for sure, especially with this quarterback room. You want to talk about entertainment, those three, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and of course, Jackson Dart. So that'll be exciting for sure, and I'll definitely be tuning in. Do I love it for the New York Giants themselves? No, I don't. I've never thought it was the best thing for a team to go on Hard Knocks in season. I think it's a distraction. But at the end of the day, as a fan, I can't control that, so I'm going to watch and I'm going to enjoy it. But do I? If I was Mara or Shane or Daboll, would I love the idea of my team being on Hard Knocks? No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it this way. I'm with you guys. I think it's fun to watch. I enjoyed it thoroughly, seeing the inner workings of the offseason, how they went about, drafting guys or getting free agent guys. It ended up looking bad for us because of the whole Saquon Barkley thing, and obviously they went on to win the Super Bowl, and Barkley was a gigantic part of that, rushing for over 2,000 yards, so it looks bad. So, yeah, maybe we got embarrassed there. I'd rather be embarrassed on Hard Knocks than on the field, though. I mean, the Giants have been an embarrassment. But we talked about it, after the draft. I feel like the attitude of this team is much different. I feel like the players they brought in have a little bit of a swag to them. Jackson Dart definitely has a confidence to him that we didn't see with Daniel Jones. Cam Scatterbo, obviously, we all know about Cam. He's a freaking tank. Love that. And yeah, Jameis Winston, I mean, how can you not be entertained by Jameis Winston? Hopefully they're airing some victories for the Giants. That'd be freaking great if it's going to be covering the NFC East. It would be nice to beat some of these teams in our division. But I don't know if it's a distraction so much. I mean, maybe the Giants need a distraction. I mean, who knows? This has been such a bad run of football for the New York Giants. I don't honestly see how it could hurt. I just found it ironic that we hadn't been on this show forever, and I didn't have HBO, and I literally bought HBO just to watch them on Hard Knocks. I'm glad I didn't get rid of it because now I'm going to get to watch them again. So I'll definitely look forward to it. I think it'll be cool this time to see exactly what goes on in the season, how these guys interact. Like Anthony said, Jackson Dart learning from these other guys and seeing how he progresses with a lot of things on and off the field. So it does give a fan a pretty cool perspective of seeing the behind-the-scenes stuff that we normally don't get to see. How that equates to what they do on the field, God only knows. But I really hope they win some football games and you see them having some fun on there. But there's probably going to be some turmoil and tension and everything else. It goes with the season. That's a football season, man. And not always going to get along. It's like the fan base. You're not always going to get along. But at the end of the day, you all want the Giants to win. So definitely looking forward to that for sure. Without question. Swin says we got HBO watch Last of Us. So I don't know really what else to talk about. I guess OTAs are starting next week.
One thing I was thinking about as you were talking, because we were talking about how it's an NFC East
right.
show. I was thinking about the rule that did not go through today. That as a Giants fan, I'm not happy with. I thought every like NFL insider was saying it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And then I go to Twitter today on my lunch break, and I think it was Diana Rossini that I saw that tweeted it and said it's not going to happen. 75, not enough owners voted against the rule change for the Tush push, getting rid of the Tush push. And it's not even just, Grant, I'm biased, no doubt about it. I despise the Eagles. I hate the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll be the first to say it. I don't think that's a football play. I honestly think that should be banned. And I'll tell you another thing, Baddog. I don't remember when this became a thing. Maybe it was like 6 or 7 years ago. You started to see teams really do it. Another play I don't love in the NFL today is when a guy gets in like a pile and members of his team can drag him 10 yards. That to me is not an NFL play. I think those things should be banned. And I was honestly surprised with all the hoopla that we heard leading up into the vote today that they didn't outlaw the Tush push. So I didn't love that the owners didn't get rid of that. And it's not just because I hate the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. Anthony, you have any thoughts on that? I didn't know that. I also thought they were going to ban that. I didn't realize that actually went through today. So have any thoughts on that besides the fact you hate the Eagles like all of us today?
Well, I do hate the Eagles, but I do also have thoughts on the Tush push. There's a heavy debate going around whether or not it's a safety liability, whether or not it's a play that can create injury. And I understand that there is no data that suggests that it is a play that causes injuries. However, if you listen to what the league office and what the league safety department has said about the play, they have said that it's not about the data that is already presented about the injuries that have occurred on the Tush push play because it's so minimal. It's about the data on a man in that posture getting hit in the head. Not necessarily in football, but like just generally speaking, when a quarterback is in that posture, they are open to the risk of an injury. So it hasn't happened yet. But the reason why I thought the play was going to get banned and why I think it should get banned from a safety standpoint is because the injury has not occurred just yet. But when it occurs, as the league office has said, because of the posture of the quarterback, it won't be a minor injury. It will be a catastrophic injury. That's the verbiage that the NFL has used. So it's not about the data of the football play itself and how many injuries have occurred on the play. It's the data of the way the posture of the person is laid on that play. If you get injured in that posture, it could be a completely catastrophic injury. So In my opinion, it should have been banned for a safety reason, for the reasons that Chris mentioned as well. I also think it does create somewhat of a less exciting product on the field, which I think is why Roger Goodell wanted it banned, because like what we saw with Eagles versus Commanders when they were on the 1 yard line, there was nothing that the Commanders could do except to run into the line of scrimmage, throw some flags out there. And then the ref said, well, we're just going to give them the touchdown if you keep doing that. And that was ridiculous too. So it dampens the product of the NFL that you're watching by having this play in the game, in my opinion. It's a safety risk, as I mentioned, because of the posture of the quarterback and potential. I thought it was actually really smart that they were trying to ban it from a safety standpoint, because the league has a tendency to be very reactive to things. Once some sort of significant injury happens, then they react. Okay, now they're implementing all this different, here's how you do the textbook tackle. Like when Ryan Shazier had that catastrophic injury, then they had all these programs.
Same with the kickoff rules, Anthony. That's where they initially
exactly.
Yeah, so
exactly. Always reactive. I thought this was a rare moment where they were being proactive, getting ahead of it. Now I still feel like it's a ticking time bomb. Eventually somebody's going to get hurt on one of these plays, and it's going to be really bad, and they're all going to wish that they had banned it this offseason.
Yeah, and I and Baddog and me are huge baseball fans. Like, baseball has been willing to make alterations to improve the play. The safety thing aside, which I agree, Anthony, if they feel that they need to take a precaution in terms of safety to ban that play, that's absolutely a vital reason and the most important reason. But another thing, like you said, it's just boring. It's not a football play. Nobody wants to turn on a football game and watch a team do 3 tush pushes when they get to the 2 yard line and just.
Or if they do it from their own 2 yard line, like we did.
Just maul their way. Like I've always said, like if I had Madden, if I was the Eagles, I would just do the tush push every play. I'd get a first down after 4 plays every single time. I think that would be hysterical if the Eagles did that on one drive one time, because they'd probably get a first down if they got 4 opportunities with the way that they're able to push the pile forward the way that they do. But you look at baseball, Baddog, they were willing to make alterations. They got rid of the shift. For years, people said, oh, well, just that's part of the game. Like, you got that the hitter has to adjust. And baseball said, no, it's harming the game. So we're going to change it to improve the product. I personally think the hack-a-mitch in basketball, or hack-a-shack, as it was first term, that's something I think the NBA should look into. I think it kind of hurts the I know the argument is make your free throws, but I kind of think it hurts the product. It hurts the progress of the game. And it's the same thing here. I think it would have been a wise decision for the NFL to outlaw that. The other rule, and I was actually talking to a coworker about it. I wasn't even aware that they were discussing this, and I don't know if it went through or not. But what he had told me was the NFL was talking about doing a reseeding. Basically meaning like last year's instance where the Vikings went like 13-4 or 14-3 or whatever they did, and they got the 6th seed and they didn't get a home playoff game. I think they were talking about changing something with that. I didn't hear if they did anything.
Record?
Yeah, where
that didn't pass.
The record essentially gets home field advantage in the playoffs.
Yeah, so that rule,
division winner. Yeah,
that rule did not pass, but it was essentially going to make it. I didn't like the rule because I like how important divisional games are. Like win your division if you want the higher seeding. This would have taken that incentive away. Your division record would have mattered a little bit less if this rule did pass. And then there was the second half of this rule where after the first round of the playoffs, things get reseeded, I think. And I didn't really understand how that was supposed to work. But I guess after, the wild card weekend, then there was a reseeding of things. And I have no idea how they were supposed to implement that. So I'm happy that one didn't pass through. I think that the NFL playoffs are perfect the way that they are, and that they should stay the way that they are. The only thing that they've done to the playoff format was add the 7th team. And I actually don't really love that. I don't think that's done a lot for the league. I think that's been actually pretty detrimental to the products of the game as well, with some of the crappy wild card weekend games that we've had. So I think they should go back to the 6 per side playoffs and just have the best product possible in the month of January. Exactly. Yeah. It's all about money. Eventually, we're going to probably get 8 teams per side in the playoffs, so we can get the 2 teams with the first round buys again. I don't know. It's always going to be ridiculous, but the reseeding thing I thought was a terrible idea. I'm really happy that didn't go through.
If you went to 8 teams, though, Anthony, I don't think you would get 2 teams with a bye, because that would mean that you couldn't, because you'd have 5 teams after that. You'd have 3 winners with the 6 teams playing one another, and then you'd have 2 teams on a bye. It would be an odd number. I think nobody would have a bye with an 8-team format. Everybody would just play, right?
You might be right. I know that they obviously had 2 buys with the 6-team format. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Listen, I'm a great writer.
I agree with you. They're probably
math is not my strong suit. Don't ask me about math.
Yeah. As far as the Tush push goes, I mean, you guys are right. You look at all the rules they've made to clean everything up. You can't hit a guy in the knees, can't hit a guy in the head, can't lead with your head, you can't kick off anymore. The onside kick is completely different now. Everything changed. There was no more wedge. None of this stuff. They got rid of everything. And it's a great point made, Anthony, because they are reactive and not proactive. And yeah, somebody is going to get hurt. Somebody's going to get bent back the wrong way. Their head's going to get bent back the wrong way. And then they're going to be like, oh God, we should have done something about it. They really should take a look at it as far as player safety. The NFL supposedly is all about player safety. And listen, me personally, I grew up in the 80s. It was a much different game. I'm not saying that I'm for people getting injured, but listen, the NFL is a physical game, and I think that some of the things they do actually end up hurting the players because they don't know where the hell they can hit the guy. I understand if you have a defenseless receiver, you shouldn't launch yourself at the guy and crack him in the head. I understand that. But there's sometimes, man, the quarterback throws the ball and you hit him as he's throwing the ball in your hand. A 350-pound guy comes down and he tries to swat the ball. It comes down and hits the quarterback on the top of the head, and they call a flag. That's not unnecessary roughness. I'm sorry. The guy didn't do it on purpose. Or if he's driving the guy into the ground, how can he stop gravity? He can't up on 300. Dexter Lawrence running in there full speed, grabbing a hold of Jalen Hurts, slamming him down to the ground. And what's he supposed to do? In midair, just go, that's not what happened. Unnecessary roughness, driving the quarterback into the ground. You're supposed to. So there's a lot of games I watch and go, just give the quarterback flags and let's be done with it. Because some of these guys you can't touch. Some of them you can. We know Daniel Jones got hit out of bounds, hit in the head. They did the same shit to Eli, right? They hit Eli in the head. Who cares? Rough Eli after it doesn't matter. But untouchables can't touch Pat Mahomes. You can't even go near Pat Mahomes. You couldn't go near Tom Brady. You couldn't go near Aaron Rodgers. There's guys you can't go near. The elites, you can't touch them. You can't even go by them.
And that's the other thing, Baddog, is like, I wouldn't say I'm a defensive guy, but I'm definitely more of a balanced guy. I'm not a guy that likes to watch a football game where it's 52-49. I would much sooner rather watch a game that's 2017, that's really good defense, sound offense. That's what I prefer to watch. And I think the NFL is steering itself more and more towards the 52-49 type of style of play. And they already give the offense so many advantages as is for a lot of the things that you just stated, the way that they baby the quarterbacks. Every time there's a rule change, it seems to favor the offense. You look on the defensive side of the ball, kind of similar to the tush push, where you can't like jump, in terms of it, that it's in the scrum on a special teams play. Defensive players aren't allowed to like push off of the center because of a safety issue. They ban that. But when it comes to this, I don't know. I just feel like the offense has way too much of an advantage as is. And I was kind of excited to see, not just because I think it's a boring play and because it definitely is more beneficial to the Eagles than anybody else. I thought it was going to level the playing field a little bit in terms of offense, defense. So I was surprised they didn't ban it. It really was.
Yeah, I can't believe that. Like you said, I don't think it's a football play either. But I was of the advocate, man. Hey, listen, you have to stop it. I mean, if it's legal, I'm not going to get on them for it being legal. I'm not going to sit there and go, well, they can't do that. They shouldn't do that if it's legal. But as long as it's within the rules and the NFL allows it, there's really nothing you can do. So you got to stop it. But to Anthony's point, you saw what Washington did, and it became a mockery. It was a joke that the guy, who I forgot who it was, just kept jumping over the line of scrimmage. And I have never, ever in my life seen the officials go, we're just giving him a touchdown without them hurting it. I've never seen them just go touchdown. I've never seen that because obviously they couldn't move the ball any closer. And that just goes to show you how stupid that play is because that guy was doing that on purpose. Just to continue, because they knew they couldn't stop him. It's like, well, the hell with it. We're just going to keep jumping over the line of scrimmage, which I thought was actually, it was comical. It was sad at the same time.
Also on that, if they did just give the Eagles a touchdown, do you know how much backlash the league would get from sports books and sports bettors in general? People would be so pissed off if they just handed touchdowns out. I mean, I'm pretty sure I was sweating a parlay at that moment. I think I had a Jalen Hurts anytime. So I was like, this better not happen. Just let them score at that point. So I don't know. I think there's just so many different ways to react to this tush push conversation. And all of it seems negative from every different aspect. Like Chris said, there's so many advantages for the offense. As the league has said, there are health concerns. There's just so many reasons to ban this play. I'm honestly shocked that it didn't get banned, and it didn't happen this offseason. I think they're going to find a way to get it done next offseason at the latest, because I just think it's so ridiculous. There's so many flaws in the idea of this one singular play. And yes, maybe I am biased, as you said, Chris. I definitely am, and I'm definitely hating on the Eagles. But generally speaking, I just think it's a detriment to the sport of football, and it doesn't belong.
I'll be the first to say if the Giants were able to do it as well as the Eagles, I would be hoping they kept the tush push. So I'll be the first to say it, because I want my team to win, and if it benefits my team, but I would understand if they banned it, because I think the play sucks. I think it hurts the product. To be honest with you, I hate watching the Eagles do that on a 3rd and 3, or they basically get an extra down. I don't know. I just don't. I don't like the play for the game of the NFL.
Yeah, they do, because if it gets to 3rd and 3, then they have 4th. They really could do that. They could line up on 3rd and 2. Maybe they get on 3rd and 2. If not, they get it on 4th down and 1. I think Nick Sirianni said it, or somebody said it, that the Eagles really only have to get 9 yards in 3 plays, and they got a first down, because nobody can stop that play. But yeah, I wish the Giants could do that. I wish the Giants could get a yard any time. But Anthony, I just, when you mentioned the Jalen Hurts anytime, who gets the credit for that touchdown?
I don't think anybody does, which is like,
is it like
that opens a can of worms?
Recovery or something? That is really weird. Like, I know, like in the NBA, say an offensive player, defensive player tips the ball into the offensive basket trying to get a rebound. It goes to like the closest player. Or in hockey, if it goes off of a defender's skate, the skater closest to it gets credit for the goal. I wonder how they would score that, because that's really weird. Like I said, I was watching that game. I've never seen the officials go, fuck it, we're giving him the touchdown, because if they didn't, they were just going to keep jumping across the line of scrimmage, just saying, you guys don't want to ban this shit. We're just gonna embarrass you. We're getting killed here. It doesn't matter at this point. Let's just keep jumping across the line of scrimmage and making a mockery of it. And it was I thought that was a bad look for the NFL. The fact that he kept allowing them to do it, and then they just gave him the touchdown. What they should have done is given the guy a warning. If you do that shit again, we're throwing you out of the game. That's what they should have done. Yeah. Because that would have stopped it. That's what they should have said. You're getting thrown out of the game. It's going to be unnecessary roughness or whatever the hell, the unsportsmanlike conduct. 2 of those, you're gone. That's what they should have. I've never seen the officials go, you get a touchdown. I've never ever seen that shit, which is absolutely insane. But speaking of books, big shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the stream as always. You can go to BetUS. And let me get rid of this really quick. Go to BetUS, check them out. You enter the promo code YouTube150, you get a 150% match deposit bonus on your first deposit, a 125% match deposit bonus on your second and third deposit, all the way up to $2,000 bonus cash. Great customer service, 24/7, 365, the fastest payouts in the business within 24 hours. You also get 10% gambler's insurance against all your net losses, as long as you stay active every 6 months. Terms and conditions apply. And when you gamble, we ask that you do it responsibly. Never bet more than you can afford to lose. You take a look at Paulson Adebo, the Giants' new defensive playmakers, and there are his career highlights: 10 interceptions, 43 pass breakups, and total tackles 2023. I was surprised they didn't have last year's here, but 4 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries. How big of an addition is Paulson Adebo to this secondary, Chris?
Oh, massive. Massive. And, obviously him and Holland, but massive addition. It completely changes our secondary. All of a sudden, Deonte Banks is not asked to do nearly as much as he was last year. So we'll see, how it plays out. I don't want to get overly excited until we see the product on the field. But, yeah, I think this was the combination of those two in terms of immediate impact on the team. I would say they're probably going to have the biggest immediate impact on the team. That improved secondary. As excited as I am for the pass rush, and I think the pass rush is going to benefit because of this upgrade as well. But yeah, I think our secondary it could at least be decent to good this year. Last year it was arguably the worst in the league. So our upgrades in free agency in the secondary, Adebo being the main part at the cornerback spot, was massive.
Oh, just take a look at his interceptions in 2023. I'm pretty sure that's as many as we had in our entire secondary last year. Anthony, how much does he improve our secondary, Mr.
I think tenfold. It's a night and day difference, I think, when you have a cornerback like Adebo, whose biggest strength is his ball skills, his ability to get his head around and get his hands on the football. Like, that is his biggest strength. You see it there 4 interceptions in 23, 10 interceptions in his career, 43 pass breakups, which is a tremendous amount. I think the stat from PFF is that he has like 26 forced incompletions, which is PBUs and interceptions combined over the last 2 years. And we all know that includes the fact that he missed 7 games with a broken leg. So the guy just gets his hands on the football. He's a playmaker. And that's going to create a night and day difference, like I said, because last year, if there's one thing that Deonte Banks couldn't do, it was turn his damn head around, get his hand on the football. He was there in coverage like oftentimes, and I give him credit for that, especially that game against the Browns where Amari Cooper had 2 big plays, contested catches right over Deonte Banks, but Banks was literally touching him while he's making those catches. I'm like, dude, your coverage is right there.
It was the first.
Yeah, one of them was the first play of the game, and then there was a second one later on. Like, you're right there in coverage. Just get that head turned around, and he just doesn't have that skill. Maybe it's something he develops, maybe it isn't, but it's something Paulson Adebo has. So going up against those number 1 receivers who tend to get those contested catch opportunities, now we've got a defensive back who can actually make an impact in those situations. So I think he's going to have a major impact on the secondary in general. He's also a leader from everything that I've read about him. It's a very exciting addition to the secondary, and it's one that I think was overdue for the New York Giants to actually spend and get themselves a cornerback, which they hadn't really done since James Bradbury several years ago. So I'm really excited about Adebo. He's also super athletic. I think he's going to be a big addition for the Giants defense.
There's no. Oh, go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
Forgot about Adoree Jackson. We did spend on him, but
that's right, Adoree Jackson.
Yeah,
he was solid for the Giants. He was solid.
But yeah, as far as Adebo goes, like you mentioned, Andy, it takes a ton of pressure off of Deonte Banks. The fact that we have really good wide receivers in this division, we have really good teams in this division. McLaurin's another guy. I remember McLaurin having a really maybe it was just 1 contested catch, but like you said, Deonte Banks literally has his helmet in the guy's chest, and all the receivers are doing is just reaching over him and taking in the ball. It's not because Banks doesn't cover well, but he doesn't locate the football, which is incredibly frustrating, because if he just would turn his head, he could break up the pass, and maybe Adebo can teach him that skill. Somebody's got to teach him that skill, because Banks' coverage skills aren't really awful. It's just in the NFL, especially with these receivers, with how athletic and the body balance, the control, the catch radius that these guys have, unless you are turning locating the ball, you got to make a play in the football, not a play in the wide receiver this day and age, because these guys are so great at catching the ball with their hands. You got to locate that football. It's something Adebo definitely brings. And with an improved secondary, it's going to also enhance the pass rush, because if you have better coverage for just a half second more, and that quarterback has to hang on to it for a half second more, maybe that's the difference between Kayvon Thibodeau getting there on 3rd down and 8 and him not getting there. So I think that's a huge addition. It's good to see it without question. We needed that upgrade. I really like what Joe Shane did this offseason. I don't think there was any question. He was awesome. Anthony, I don't know, we might have asked you this. I don't remember, because, it's been a while since free agency happened. Did you have a favorite free agent signing that Joe Shane did go out and sign this year?
I don't know if I had a favorite free agent signing. Like, I really liked the Adebo signing. I really liked the Javon Holland signing. I think the Adebo signing has the most upside, and I really like that about it. But in terms of value, I really liked the Darius Slayton contract. I thought he was going to get paid more than what he got, and I think he's severely underrated from Giants fans. And I hated the wide receiver market this offseason. Everybody was like, go sign this guy, go sign that guy. I'm like, DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs, those guys don't move me. Those guys are not changing things for this offense. And I actually thought that re-signing Slayton was their best option. I just kind of ruled it out early because it seemed like he didn't want to be here. But realistically, for the price point and the caliber of player that he is relative to the rest of the wide receiver 2 market, I thought he was the best value signing. I thought somebody was going to get a steal. Instead, the Giants retain him. That's probably my favorite signing that he made during the free agency period.
Chris, did you have one?
It was certainly my most unexpected signing, and I was happy when they did it. It was a good unexpected. Because I thought he would want out. I mean, Darius Slayton, he clearly loves being a Giant. Like Anthony said, he gets a lot of slack from the fan base, and I've gained a lot more appreciation for Darius Slayton over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, because he loves being a Giant, man. He's a leader. He stuck up for Daniel Jones, whether you like Daniel Jones or not. I appreciate that about Darius Slayton. And listen, he's consistent. He's a good football player. Is he great? Absolutely not. But the Giants paid him to be a good football player. $12 million a year for a wide receiver in today's market is not a whole hell of a lot, right? Russell Wilson's basically getting paid to be a backup, if we're being honest. That's like a backup quarterback salary. He's making close on a per-year salary to what Darius Slayton's going to get. So they didn't really spend all that much on Darius Slayton to come back. A lot of fans saw that contract like $12 million. That's absurd. Not in today's market, not with the way that that it's gone up. But of course, like in terms of the most impactful free agent signings, I think you have to go with the secondary and free agency if you're projecting it out, whether it be a Daboll or Holland. I think those guys are going to have the biggest impact. I like the Golston signing too, but he's more of a piece to the overall pass rush for the New York Giants, but a necessary piece. So I like everything, like you said, man. I like everything that Shane did. We'll see. Sometimes you get excited about the offseason. It doesn't work out in the regular season, but overall, I think he went in with a good plan. He didn't overspend in free agency. They were all short-term commitments. They're all young players. The only question mark you really have, like Anthony kind of touched on with the Daboll signing, a little bit of an injury history there. So you worry that these guys could potentially get hurt, but the risk isn't really that high because they're not long contracts. So I like what he did, man. I really do, both in the draft and free agency.
I've always been a big fan of the secondary. That's always been my favorite position. I think interceptions are my favorite play in football. I always think interceptions. Sacks are obviously huge, but I always felt like turnovers are such game changers. Watching the cornerbacks return interception for touchdowns. It was always when I was telling you how old I am. When I used to play Tecmo Super Bowl, still the greatest football game of all time. I don't give a shit what you say about Madden. Tecmo Super Bowl is the greatest football game of all time. That was always my goal. I always wanted to try to pick up a pass and run it for a touchdown. It was hard because as the guy would run, he would get slower and slower and slower. So it was difficult, but that was always what I wanted to do. I love both of those signings, Daboll and Holland. I just think it makes the Giants so much more complete on the defensive side of the football, obviously. But I think my favorite free agent signing was Russell Wilson, man. And the reason I say Russell Wilson is because with them drafting Jackson Dart, and we figured that the Giants were going to go quarterback someplace. Now, a lot of us thought it'd be Shedeur 3, that, and if Cam Ward, so whatever, we didn't, or maybe it was going to be Jackson Dart, but we figured they would take a quarterback. Maybe we thought it'd be Milroe, whoever it was. Russell Wilson gives the bridge quarterback. He is a veteran. He is cerebral. He's smart. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been there. He's going to Canton when it's all said and done. He is a great guy for somebody to learn from. And he's got a really good personality. And he seems like he really adapts well, and nothing's going to overwhelm Russ. And if you're going to have a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback, be taught by somebody, he is a great somebody to learn from. So I really like, and I've always liked Russell Wilson. I always wanted him to be a Giant. Just wish it was like 6 years ago. But I'm happy he's a Giant now. And I think that Russell Wilson can certainly win some of these close games that we lost last year. And I really think that he could be a big part of us being better than some people do. If the Giants are going to beat the odds and win more than 6 games this year, win more than 5 games this year, Russell Wilson is going to be a big reason they do. Yeah. So I like the Russell Wilson signing.
And to be honest with you, and I overlooked that one a bit just because I'm thinking more over the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I understand.
But for this year, yeah, the Russell Wilson signing is a great signing. They didn't spend a whole lot on him. Like I just said, $10 million is nothing. That's what backup quarterbacks get paid today in today's NFL. And most importantly, even if it only starts 8 to 10 games, which is more than likely the plan going into the year, maybe 12 games, get to the bye, he is a perfect guy for a guy like Jackson Dart to sit and learn behind a Hall of Fame quarterback. And it kind of gives the Giants the luxury of not having to rush him in. So that serves a lot of value as well. So for this year, I think you can make a strong argument. I might even agree with you for just the 2025 season. Russell Wilson probably was the Giants' best free agent signing.
Yeah, I want to amend my answer because I actually agree. I think Russell Wilson was my favorite signing and the best. I forgot about him for a second just because we were talking about the free agent signs. I was thinking of the ones that they made in March when they went on the big spending spree. So I overlooked Russell Wilson happened almost a full month later. But also, I'll give a shout out to the Jameis Winston contract because I said this at the time. That's one of the best quarterback contracts in the entire sport. $4 million for a guy who a lot of us talked about as a potential bridge starter. They got him as a backup for $4 million per season. I mean, $4 million per season is less than what the Giants paid per year to Tyrod Taylor and even per year to Drew Lock. That is one of the best value contracts, I think, in the NFL because I still think Jameis Winston is a capable player. And then, I can't even express how excited I am to watch a quarterback that knows how to throw the ball past 20 yards. So Russell Wilson, yes, definitely my favorite quarterback. Yeah, definitely my favorite signing.
I definitely.
He might be your favorite quarterback too, the way you talk about him, Anthony. He's up there for you.
Well, I'll tell you this. Growing up, when people would ask me who's your favorite player not on the Giants, I would say Russell Wilson. So I'm a big Russ fan. There was even a time I thought about getting his jersey many years ago. I didn't end up doing it, but I've always been a big fan of Russ, man. When the Seahawks were playing, I loved watching him on the Seahawks.
I'm assuming it's Brady, Baddog. Who's your favorite non-Giants quarterback ever?
It was Brady.
Yeah.
Definitely Tom Brady. Yeah, I'm a big Brady guy. I always love people like, how can you like Tom Brady? Well, we kicked his ass twice in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's part of it. But he's a Patriot. He's not a rival of the Giants. And I listen, man, I like winners. That's just the way it is. The man was a winner. You can say whatever you want about him, but it doesn't matter. The guy won more Super Bowls than any franchise in the history of the NFL. He won 7. The next Pittsburgh got 6.
I think my favorite, Baddog, and of course people are going to say Brady. I'm no longer going to say Rodgers, even though used to be a big. I can't stand Rodgers now. I just can't. my favorite non-Giants quarterback since I've been watching the sport, I loved Steve Young when I was growing up as a kid, and I think Steve Young in the modern day NFL would be even better. He was such an underrated athlete, right? They used to say that he was faster than Jerry Rice. And I'll tell you another quarterback who I loved. I wouldn't ever say he was elite. He did win a co-MVP one year. One of the toughest players I've ever seen play in the NFL. I loved Steve McNair. Those are some of my favorite non-Giant quarterbacks. I love
Warren Moon was up there for me too. I loved Warren Moon. I loved that run and shoot offense back in the 80s when he played for Houston. He was always one of my favorites. I was glad he finally got into Canton because I'm like, how the hell is Warren Moon not in the Hall of Fame? But I always liked Warren Moon. That was one of my favorite guys growing up when I was a kid. Obviously, I was an adult when Brady got into the league, but as a kid, Warren Moon, he might have been my favorite non-Giants quarterback at that time.
He had a cannon.
What's that?
He had a cannon. Yeah, Warren Moon.
It's funny hearing the quarterbacks you guys grew up with and the quarterbacks I grew up with. Like Tom Brady entered the NFL before I was born, so I grew up with Tom Brady. So
yes,
and I'll say
in the modern day era, Anthony, I'd have to go Josh Allen. I've always been a massive Josh Allen fan.
Yeah.
That guy, I have a man crush on that guy. Just how his God-given gifts. I've never seen a quarterback with just the natural God-given ability that he has.
Mine is Lamar Jackson. I am a huge Lamar Jackson fan. My closest friend is a Baltimore Ravens fan. So we've always been talking about Giants and Ravens together forever. I love Lamar Jackson. Plus, he's native to the area that I live in. I watched him play in high school. So I've been tracking his career throughout his career. And so seeing him be this absolute superstar. And I think back on that time when I watched him play in high school and he ran for 200 and threw for 200 against my buddies. It was pretty awesome back then. And now seeing him do that in the NFL is like even cooler.
And for me, it's Patrick Mahomes. The guy's a winner. Give me the winners. Give me the guys that win all the time. I know it gets boring. As long as it ain't the damn Eagles. Jalen Hurts will never be my favorite quarterback. I don't give a shit how much. The more he wins, the more I'm going to hate him. So that's the way that goes. But I just love Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes does everything. Is he the most athletic, gifted guy? No. But, man, nobody improvises like Pat Mahomes. And Pat Mahomes can just do everything. He just figures it out, man. You don't think he's going to run, he takes off. You think he's going to go out of bounds, kind of fakes out, he gets an extra 20 yards. He can throw the deep ball, he can throw a slant, he can throw it sidearm, he can do whatever the hell he wants to. He just figures out a way to get it done, man. And Brady was the same way. They were just really smart. Brady had a really good arm, but he couldn't run to save his life. But what they were is elusive in the pocket. You don't need to be a scrambler per se to get away from a pass rush. As long as you know how to move your shoulders, step up in the pocket, step right, step left, whatever it is, just be mobile in the pocket. You can get away from a pass rush. It's something I think Russell Wilson can do better than Daniel Jones did, even though Daniel Jones is obviously a better runner than Russell Wilson at this point in their career. So I don't know.
Pat Mahomes is the best quarterback on the planet. Anybody that debates that's out of their mind at this point. The guy wins. I mean, period. End of story. Let's do what it won last year.
I'm
a Met fan, Baddog. I'm a Knick fan. I just naturally, I guess, don't want to root for the favorite. So that's why I've always respected Brady. I just can't pull myself to root for him. I never rooted for Brady. I don't hate Mahomes. I don't hate the Chiefs. I think they get a lot more hate than they deserve. But I can't pull for him.
That's because of Taylor Swift. That's
part of it. That's definitely a part of it.
Definitely part of it, without question. If you guys have any questions, man, throw them out there. Lonnie says, if Kafka's the OC calling the plays, how will Daboll develop Dart? Which one of you two want to take?
I don't think Kafka's going to call the plays. I really don't. maybe he will. I guess we don't have that answer yet. I don't think Brian Daboll, actually, I know he hasn't come out and definitively said who's going to call the plays. But Lonnie, and I think we talked about this last week or the week before, I think if they were going to make that change, I think it would have already been announced. I really believe Daboll's job's on the line this year. I think he knows that. I think he realizes that. I think he's going to want to go down with having the responsibility for why he inevitably got this job in the first place, because he's supposed to be a great play caller. He got the improved quarterback now. I think he's going to convince Shane that I'm the best guy for this job. You hired me here to mold the quarterback. Let me call the plays for a better quarterback room. So I don't think that's going to be a problem if you're worried about that, Lonnie, because I really think Daboll's going to be the play caller.
What do you think, Anthony?
I think Daboll will call the plays as well. I mean, this could be his last season as the Giants head coach. I think he's going to want to go out running it his way. But I think that there's an argument if Kafka is the OC and calling the plays, there's an argument that Daboll developing Dart might be even easier for Daboll. Maybe he's able to spend more time one-on-one with Jackson Dart rather than spending time game planning week in and week out. So I think there's several ways that you could slice it up. Again, I say this all the time. There's not one way to slice an apple, and that's very true for every aspect of the NFL. And especially with quarterback development, it looks so different for every single quarterback. But if Kafka does end up calling the plays, it might reserve more time on the side during the week for Daboll to invest directly back into Jackson Dart and his development.
Yeah, and the thing is, Dart's not going to play until next season. So Kafka might not even be here next year. But to your point, it's weird because, obviously Daboll will come up with the play. I think Daboll could come up with a playbook and just Kafka could call the plays. But when your job is on the line, and Daboll's job is on the line, it was on the line last year. He got thrown a life preserver. They threw him a lifeline. He was able to come back after a terrible, tumultuous season where we were 3-14, the worst season in the history of Giants football, 100-year anniversary. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Murphy's Law for us last year. I think that you want to be in control of what goes on in the field. And if you're going to go down, if the ship's going to go down, you want to be the one driving it. You want to be a passenger and just go down with the ship. You want to be the one that's in control, that try to save that son of a bitch. So I do think that Daboll is going to call the plays, but I don't know, man. It's a weird situation, but I think Daboll is going to develop Dart just fine. It's his guy. I think you're going to see a close relationship there without question. I think that he's going to be fine. Whoever calls the plays, I don't think it'll be a problem for Brian Daboll to develop Jackson Dart.
If I had to guess, guys, I think, and this is just me guessing, we're all gonna find out together probably by July or August when this, I guess, gets announced. I think they're gonna say Kafka's best role is what he did in Kansas City. Just focus on the young quarterback. Focus on Jackson Dart. You were a big part of the upbringing of Patrick Mahomes in his rookie year where he sat behind Alex Smith. Focus on Jackson Dart. Focus on his upbringing. Daboll, obviously, we want you to be heavily involved in the offensive game plan week to week, but Daboll's going to stick to the play calling. Kafka, you did what you do what you did with Mahomes. You mold that young quarterback his first year where we get him ready to play in the pros. That's my guess is what the plan will be.
Yeah. Look at that. You gotta love this one. Just thought that was funny. It's funny because normally I leave the Commanders alone. I feel bad for the Commanders.
I don't feel bad for them anymore.
I know, but I felt bad for them for a long time. I mean, they were, number one, they didn't have a name for a couple of years. They've had like 4 10-win seasons in 34 years. They won like 2 playoff games in 34 years. And when they were looking for a name for their,
they had a name. Football team. It was a great name.
Right. But I mean, give them a name. I always was an advocate of Giants bitches because no team in the history of the NFL has beaten another team as much as the Giants have beaten Washington. So I find it funny how the Commander fans are, sticking their chest out like they've actually accomplished something. You made it to the NFC Championship game. Bravo. And then you got your heads beat off by the Philadelphia Eagles. You got embarrassed. You didn't even belong in that game. So, and then there's on Twitter talking about we should be America's team. What the hell happens? You get one taste of success 35 years and you guys go insane. You're a joke. I mean, your stadium sucks. It leaks sewage. I mean, do something. Win one of these things back here. Hey, you haven't won one in 34 years. I was in high school, man. I'm going to be 50 in July. I was in high school last time they won anything. So let's not talk about the Giants. It's just, worry about your own team.
I see a lot of people spamming in the chat that Jim Irsay passed away. So rest in peace to him, the owner of former owner of the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, very sad. I wanted to bring up a topic for you guys because I thought about this, inspired by Chris's love of 300-pound men.
Yes.
I talked about on Fireside Giants today, Giants players who are under pressure. And I had one that I don't think it's that hot of a take, but maybe you might. I think entering this season, one of the Giants players under the most pressure is Andrew Thomas. The Giants desperately need him to be healthy this season. Ever since they paid him, he's played a total of 16 games across 2 years, meaning he's missed 18 games. He's played less than 50% of his games. I think he's under tremendous pressure to actually perform and be on the field and be healthy this season, especially knowing how much rests on his shoulders. The entire season seemingly rests on his shoulders. Whenever this guy gets hurt, the entire team just falls apart. The offense becomes non-existent. So when this is the kind of season that we're going into with a tough schedule and a tough division with a lot of pass rushers, with Brian Daboll and Joe Shane needing wins to save their jobs, a rookie quarterback waiting in the wings, when I look at all of the players on this team, who's the most important? It is Andrew Thomas. So who's under pressure to actually be healthy this year and perform and start to live up to the expectations of the contract that they received, which wasn't cheap? I think Andrew Thomas is under pressure this season. So I want to throw that out there, and I'll also tie that in. If you guys saw the offensive line award that just got added from the NFL, I thought that was pretty cool if you want to give a take on that. But yeah, Andrew Thomas under pressure, have at it.
First off, I love that award. I saw Adam Schefter or one of the insiders post that today. I'm like, that's fantastic. Because like you said, I love the 300-pound men. I think they're the most overlooked men in sport. That's why I love the 300-pound men. I dream about them every night because the Giants need more of them. Always need more of them. Even if this offensive line gets better, we need more 300-pound men. That's where the game is won and lost as far as I'm concerned.
True.
But I don't know if I would label him the player with the most pressure. I don't know if that's what you said or not, but he has immense pressure going into this year, no doubt about it. He plays arguably the second most important position on a football team, the blindside protector. We all know he's great when he's out there, but we've all seen what that offensive line has been when he's come off. I mean, the offensive line was bad. The offense, I should say, was bad when he was in the lineup. When he got out of the lineup, they were one of the worst offenses in the history of the NFL. So we all know how important he is to the offensive line, to the team in general. We all know when he is playing how good of a player he can be. But yeah, Anthony, if he gets hurt again this year, all of a sudden you're like, well, this guy's damaged goods. He's an injury concern. This guy's getting hurt every single year. But if I had to think about the player under the most pressure this year, and I think that's a really good question, for me, it's between two players. JMS, I think JMS is under a huge amount of pressure. I think he has to take a big step up this year. Otherwise, Giants may look to replace him. And I would say the most pressure is probably Kayvon Thibodeau, because now you go out, you get Abdul Carter. There's no excuses now. You got Brian Burns, you got Abdul Carter, you got Dexter Lawrence. You're going to get single coverage all year. Like, if you're not going to break out this year, when are you going to break out? And he's essentially in a contract year. I know they signed him on the 5th-year extension, but it's an extension year for him if he has a big year. So I would say Kayvon, if I had to pick one player, is under the most pressure. But I'm not going to argue your point. I think Andrew Thomas is under a ton of pressure going into this year.
Andrew Thomas, it's funny. It's not funny, but you take him out of lineup, it's like Jenga. The whole thing collapses. It's unbelievable how much he means to that offensive line. And yeah, while they're not a great unit at the beginning of the year, I remember talking about how, this offensive line actually looks average. Like, I remember thinking, I was excited the first few games. I'm like, they don't actually look terrible. Like, Daniel Jones had some time to throw in the puck. Like, he wasn't just getting killed. But as soon as Andrew Thomas went out of there, everything was in complete disarray because you had guys playing out of position. And we've talked about this ad nauseum, and not just Andrew Thomas, but other injuries as well. You got guys shifting and moving, and there's somebody else next to you every week. And then you're going to play this. You're going to play right guard. Then you're going to move to left tackle. And then you're going to go here and you're going to go there. And there's no way to build any kind of timing and chemistry along the offensive line. The health overall of that offensive line, it's so important. If we could just I know they can't stay healthy all 17 games. It's rare that happens. There's always going to be a nagging injury, a hamstring, a calf. But as long as there's nothing serious and it doesn't just completely decimate the offensive line, we cannot lose the anchor, obviously, because just like an anchor, you pull that thing up and the ship just goes and complete this. It just sails all over the place. So no direction. That's our offensive line without Andrew Thomas. Obviously, he's such a huge part to protecting everything we do, especially the quarterback. But Chris, I agree with you. I think if there's one guy that is under immense pressure this year, it is Kayvon Thibodeau, because he was the 5th overall pick. They already got people screaming, he's a bust, he's this, he's that, he sucks. And it's not true. He definitely could be more consistent. There's some days he looks like a maniac and you can't stop him. There's other days you forgot he's even on the field. He also needs to stay healthy. He's a guy that's dealt with some injury issues as well. But when you get Abdul Carter, he could literally be your replacement. But like you mentioned, it's going to be single coverage. You can't double team Kayvon Thibodeau with Burns.
And you have an improved secondary too.
You have an improved secondary. You added Alexander to the all. You added Chauncey Golston. You added a lot of pieces here to this defensive line. Kayvon Thibodeau is not going to be double teamed at all. Yep. He should be able to beat his guy one-on-one. There's going to be pressure on him because, they picked up the 50-year option. But if he has a big year, they could easily just give him an extension.
Yeah,
and he could
be.
I
think they will if he has a big year. I think they will. But I think he's under immense pressure this year, Kayvon Thibodeau. And I said that last year too when he got hurt. So we'll see. But I think, and another thing I'll say about the offensive line, and of course, if Andrew Thomas goes, we all have seen what has happened the last 2 years. But that just speaks to how, and you're never going to replace a left tackle like Andrew Thomas. But the depth on this offensive line has been pitiful. Joe, we got to hope that the guys that Joe Schoen has brought in, some of the veterans he's brought in, the Marcus Embo pick, that those players are quality depth. I mean, when he went down, you think about it. You had Josh Azuda, who we drafted to play a guard, playing left tackle. You had Justin Pugh. His first game back off the couch was inserted in the left tackle in that game. So the depth for this offensive line, and it's why I always say every year, draft a lineman. Draft 2 linemen if you have to. You could never have enough depth specifically at that position. And we got to hope as Giants fans that depth continues to improve in the coming years.
Without question. I actually see this here. Nicole said, I don't understand the fall of Bellinger. What I wanted to ask you guys this, I forgot to take the thing off of there, about Daniel Bellinger. Because obviously when training camp gets here, we're going to talk about camp battles.
He's not making this team, I don't think.
But I was just going to say, what were your thoughts on Bellinger? Can he make the – obviously you're going to have Theo Johnson. He's going to be your starter, but you drafted Thomas Fidone 6th overall. I'm 6th overall. Sixth round, not 6th overall in the 6th round, but that would be like a Daniel Jones reaction if they did that. But I mean, what are Daniel Bellinger's odds of making the team this year? What happened to Daniel Bellinger? Because his rookie season, he looked really good, and then here we go. He just forgot he's even.
I mean, he could very well make the team, but I forgot who it is. There's a blocking specialist, tight end too. What's his name?
Manhertz.
Yeah, he could easily make the team over him because he's in there specifically for his block. So it's not even close to a gimme that he's making this team this year. And I honestly don't know what happened. He kind of fell out of favor with the Giants, but it happens. What was the name of that tight end we had like 4 or 5 years ago where people were like in awe of him? Caden something, right?
Oh, Caden Smith.
Caden Smith, right? That was Daniel Jones's rookie year, right? When he had everybody was so excited about him, and then he kind of fell off the team within 2 or 3 years after that. So it happens, right? But I don't know. We were actually talking about that before the show because I don't know how we've made it through. We talked about rule changes for 20 minutes because there's not a whole lot to talk about right now. We were talking about maybe an episode we could do in the not too distant future is potential camp battles for the New York Giants. I'm going to tell you what, man, he's in for a battle. Like, he is not guaranteed to make this roster at all going into the offseason, which is kind of crazy because he was a really promising rookie after his first year. We were all really excited. They really haven't utilized him a whole lot since his rookie year.
Yeah, and I think the biggest incentive to potentially move on from him, out of all the tight ends that you might be moving on from, he's the one that gives you the greatest salary cap relief. If you cut Daniel Bellinger, you free up $3.6 million in cap space, and that's a lot of money for a team that has only $1.1 million in total cap space right now. So I like Bellinger a lot, and I like that he had versatility as well as a rookie. Like, he showed an ability to make plays as a receiver, a blocker. He even had a rushing touchdown that season. Like, he was a pretty good player as a rookie, but it's definitely going to be a competition. You're right. And if Fidone catches a couple touchdowns in the preseason, he's going to make the roster over Bellinger simply because of the cap savings for a negligible talent difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. Subscribe. We're at 4,750 subscribers, so nearing 5K, which is freaking awesome. Appreciate all you guys and girls tuning in. As like I said, it's kind of a very calm waters right now in the NFL. But let's stay on the tight end for the rest of the remaining couple minutes here. Do you see Theo Johnson making an impact offensively this year? Because it does seem like they've just completely phased out the tight end as part of the offense. But with Russell Wilson there, does it make a difference?
I bet you, Anthony, you go ahead and start.
Anybody. I was just throwing it out there.
I think it makes a difference. I think historically, Russell Wilson has always thrown a lot of passes to tight ends. So I think that you can expect.
Was Jimmy Graham there when he was there, Anthony?
Mm-hmm. Yep, Jimmy Graham. Will Dissly, he never had success elsewhere, but when Russell Wilson was throwing him the ball, Will Dissly was a pretty talented player, So I think that Russ just knows how to get through the progressions, and when he's throwing over the middle of the field, maybe it has to do with the fact that Russ is a shorter quarterback in his own right. Having a big tight end in the middle of the field is a favorable option for him. So he throws a lot to tight ends, and Theo Johnson's one of those big 6'6" athletic tight ends who I think actually compares pretty favorably to Jimmy Graham, not from an overall talent, but from a size and physicality and playing style standpoint. So yeah, I think that Theo Johnson is definitely in store to see a higher volume of targets with Russell Wilson as his quarterback.
Chris, what do you think?
I agree. And we'll see. I don't want to get too amped up, but Theo Johnson, he got hurt last year, but when he was starting to show glimpses there of being a guy that was starting to get more involved in the offense, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's our second best weapon in the passing game this year. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think he could be a big part of this passing game this year. I don't know if he will or won't. We'll see how the offense develops and who Russ favors in this offense. But yeah, I think he's going to have much more of an impact year or two for the New York Giants as opposed to his rookie year.
Now, listen, it's something we've missed in the red zone. Malik Neighbors is great, but Malik Neighbors is 5'11", 6 foot tall. How tall is Malik Neighbors? He's 6'2". I don't even know how tall he is.
I think he's 6 foot. Yeah.
Okay, 6 foot 6'1". He's not a tall guy. He's a dynamic guy, but we really haven't. That's why we got so excited when they signed Golladay. Oh, he's gonna have a red zone. He's 6'6". It never happened. Maybe Theo Johnson can be that guy inside the 5-yard line, where you can play action pass and hit him. In the back of the end zone. And it's something that you could definitely look at because that's something we missed. Tight end down there on the goal line was always a big part of the job when I was growing up. I like to go back to when I was growing up because they were freaking good back then. So I have vivid memories of them playing well. Of course, that was Mark Bavaro back in the day, but I do think Theo Johnson can make an impact offensively on this team. I think Russell Wilson will have a lot to do with that. I don't think Russell Wilson's going to favor one guy and stare down one guy. I think Russell Wilson will spread the ball.
I think he will. The one guy.
Well, Malik should. Fuck it, leak down there somewhere. I get it. But he's also a guy that can come off of his first read.
Of course.
Something our other quarterback couldn't do. Russ, if he has time, is going to scan the field.
Yeah.
So maybe Theo is a big part of what they do down in the red zone. Our guy Tutto, hey, grazie paesano, grazie. We love Italiano. Salutes and respects to our Paisani, Baddog, Tane, and Tony, and all dire Giants fans across the pond. Greetings from our entire Italian national rugby team in Italy. Tuto is a legend.
He's savage as flying. What's up, Tuto? Good to see you, Tuto. He's the man.
Tuto is the freaking man.
We got a pretty big game tonight, by the way. Tips off in about 10 minutes.
I gotta call that game.
Huge game for the Knicks tonight, but I know Tuto is going to be tuned in on Friday. Huge game over in the Italian Soccer League Serie A. I'm a Napoli fan. We've got a 1-point lead on the table. We win the league. We draw. There's a ton of different scenarios because Inter Milan is 1 point behind. So I know Tuto is going to be tuned into that on Friday, as am I. So I'm really excited for the Knicks, of course, but also for the end of the Serie A season. Super exciting.
So you're a soccer. I didn't realize you were a soccer guy. You're a soccer guy, Anthony?
Yeah. So earlier, the friend of mine that I mentioned who was a Ravens fan, he actually lives in England. And so he's really into soccer. So I don't watch the English Premier League as much, but being from Italian heritage, I watch a lot of the Serie A, which is the Italian soccer league. So very into that. My great grandfather was a huge Napoli fan. So
let me give you my 2 biggest issues with soccer. And overall, I watch the World Cup. I like the World Cup. I root for my team. And I could even enjoy sometimes on Sundays because the soccer plays early. They play at like 9 a.m., like the Premier League. Like you said, when there's nothing to watch, I'll watch it before NFL Sunday at 1 o'clock. I watch those games every once in a while. But here's my biggest issue with soccer. The one thing I do like that I think is interesting, I don't know if it's in the Italian league, maybe it's just in the Premier League. The 3 bottom teams could actually fall out of what is essentially their version of major leagues. And the 3 top teams from what is essentially the minor leagues could move up to the major leagues. I think that's a cool rule. Like, I think about that with baseball. Like, that'd be interesting, right? Every year, it keeps all the fans entertained. But what I can't stand about soccer, I hate stoppage time. I hate it. It bothers the hell out of me, Anthony, because every time I watch a soccer game, the stoppage time never equates to the time that was lost. They'll waste 5, 7, 8 minutes for a goal celebration, and you'll get 2 minutes stoppage time. There'll be fake injuries that waste 3 minutes. I can't stand that rule. I don't know. I'm an American, I know, but it's Americans don't love. I hate that rule, and I hate ties. I can't stand ties. These teams celebrate ties. I can't stand it. But
the ties are different in those because the wins are worth points, kind of similarly to hockey. If you watch the NHL, the wins, losses, draws, they're all different points. So that's the ties are really important in soccer because they're worth 1 point.
Same thing with hockey. The hockey, you used to be able to get a time regulation.
Well, now you get the
now you get an overtime loss in regulation. You get a point. Right?
Yeah, that's how it goes.
An overtime loss in regulation.
Soccer's a lot different.
And the shootout, Anthony. How do you decide a World Cup championship by a shootout? I don't like that.
Well, if you go through the entirety of extra time and nobody scores, what else are you going to do?
Extra time. Play until they can't move.
The shootout is the most nerve-wracking. That is like the most exciting thing in sports, arguably. It's up there. It's so exciting. Hey, you shouldn't be complaining about that because Italy won the Euros on a shootout several years ago.
Won the World Cup on the shootout back in '98, I think it was against Brazil. So yeah.
Nicole says Bellinger at 20 yards every time he caught the ball in 2022. DJ Davidson is underrated to me.
DJ Davidson had some good plays last year. I like him. I like Elijah Chapman. I like Jordan Riley. I think all 3 of those guys are pretty good depth and rotational pieces. I don't know if any of them ever, take that step forward and become starting caliber talents, but the Giants actually, that was the thing last year is they didn't have any depth on the defensive line in the sense that they didn't have guys who had that starting talent upside, but they do have a bunch of guys who are good backups on the defensive line who are young with upside. So that much I can praise the interior of the defensive line for.
And with that said, that brings us to a close to another edition of Giants Collect. A big shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the show. Remember, if you guys want to become a member of the channel, you can do so by clicking the join button. You're going to get all those custom emojis, the monthly member messages, your name in the outro credits, and access to members only live chats. You can also check us out on or any place you get your podcasts, that's Spotify, Apple, or Amazon Music, anywhere else you get it. And you can also check us out on TikTok and Instagram, as posting all kinds of content over there. So with that said, for Anthony, Entertain, it's a bad dig and Dizzle. We'll see you on Friday. Go Knicks.
2 more super chats. 2 more super chats came in. We got buzzer beaters from Tudo.
You got 2 buzzer beaters by Tudo that you got to read.
I am speaking of buzzer beater. That's why I'm trying to.
I know.
Tudo, grazie. Says Tony, as much as we hate our rivals, Naps, we won't miss it, mate. And
he's not a Napoli fan. He's rooting against me on Friday.
Tutto, grazie. Baddog, please set your alarm on July 4th, 6 a.m. Eastern, Italy versus South Africa and Johannesburg. Witness our O-line destroyer in action. Please pray for my victims. I always got to pray for Tudo's victims because Tudo has a lot of notches in the belt.
Especially Eagles fans.
The Eagle fans. You don't mess with Tudo. Tudo's we just like to send them to the link to take care of business over there. All right. With that said, for Anthony, Entertain, it's Bad Dig It Is. We'll see you Friday. Go Knicks, and we're out. Peace.
I'm gonna.